Hello, and welcome back in, you guys, to another One Piece video. Today, we're here to talk about chapter 1173, titled, A Generation of Warriors. Kind of funny title, considering that the generation of warriors at the end of the chapter don't exactly show out all that well. They stand up for themselves, but it's the new generation that really seals the deal with Dark Nika. So, getting into the chapter, first thing we gotta talk about is actually the reader request. Generally, I skip over these, but this time around, I thought it was kind of interesting. Usopp is closing his eyes, sticking his nose out, he's got honey on it, he's trying to lure in an Atlas beetle, or is it rhinoceros beetle? Same thing, right? Rhinoceros beetle. The reason I found this so interesting is because it does remind me of Usopp's post-time skip mentor, Heracles. Funny enough, I don't know if you guys remember this, but we actually don't know where he's at right now. During the time skip, he was at the Boeing Archipelago with Usopp. But during chapter, I think like 820-ish, we had a cover page where he left and he just never went back home. He said, hey, I'm not going to go back home yet. And that's it. We have no idea where he's at. We have no idea what he's doing. It's one of those loose threads in One Piece that has not been answered after 300, almost 400 chapters now. So I do wonder if he's going to make an appearance here in Elbaph. I don't think that'd be crazy. I know some people might be like, wait, sorry, like, why would he come here to Elbaph? But he does have a giant beetle. Maybe he got that beetle from Elbaph in the first place. Maybe he wants to meet Usopp here because he knows that this is Usopp's dream. Surely Usopp yapped about Elbaph sometime during the 2-year time span. So yeah, maybe this is a sign that we'll finally learn where Heracles is relatively soon. But then again, this is a reader request. It's not like Oda put this there himself. But he did pick it out, right? Think about all the thousands of letters Oda gets, and he picked this one out of all of them. Interesting. Interesting. So, going on to the chapter now, the first thing we have are the Domi Reversi Giants versus Zoro. And my god, Zoro really puts in work here. So, we see that they have arrived in the Western Village. Unfortunately, we don't see Elder Yarul fight. That was definitely one of the main things I was looking forward to with this chapter. Because a while back, he was like, oh yeah, warriors don't run. And then last chapter, he had that immaculate speech. And I was like, okay, Oda is putting a lot of hype on Yarul. I want to see it, man. And then here we go. The Giants show up to the Western Village. And we go over to the new giant warrior pirates and Zoro. The stand-up we get in the very first page of this chapter is pretty much the extent we get of Elder Yarul here. Not losing hope, though. I bet next week we will see him show out because I do not think this Domi Reversi giant fight is over quite yet. So we cut over to Zoro, and he asks Hiruden and Stanson if it's okay to slice and dice these giants. Hiruden and Stanson say that Elder Yarul is their top priority. So it is okay if you were to hurt these giants, but because they've earned their respect over the years, it would be nice if we could find a way to spare them. That is when one of the giants, we don't know this guy, but he just turns around. He's like, hey, Hiruden, did you finish your quest of uniting all the giants, Hiruden? The other giant jumps in and starts laughing at him, saying, yep, he knows that's never gonna happen. He can't do it. And that's when Hiruden and Stanson say, you know what, Zoro? Maybe we don't hold back. Maybe we just slice and dice these guys, man. Maybe you're right. So that is when Zoro unleashes his brilliant plan that he talked about last week. And this plan is to simply jump in the air and slice them up. Yeah, I mean, it is a plan. It does work because Zoro does not get Domi Reversi'd in this chapter. But one of the big questions still is, how does Domi Reversi work in the first place? Yes, you get caught in the middle, you get flipped. We know that we can't do it for them because we've surrounded these guys before and they haven't gone flipped back. So what's up with that? It feels like a one-sided game of Reversi. There's got to be rules that we can play with that we just don't know about yet. And there's got to be extra conditions that we also don't know about yet. One big one that people have talked about for weeks and weeks now is the homeland theory, where you have to be in your homeland to be affected by Domi Reversi. We don't know if that's true yet. Because this ability is only cropped up in Elbaph and God Valley, where the Davy clan and the Giants were affected, it's hard to dispute it. So I would have loved to see just more fleshing out of Domi Reversi in this chapter, but I bet we'll get that next chapter because, like I said, the Domi-Reversi giant fight isn't over yet. So Zoro uses an attack now that he's in the middle of all of them in the air. It is a three-sword style, crossing of the six paths. This is a technique we've seen before, albeit in a very different notion. Last he used it, I believe, was against the Kraken at Fishman Island. He used it to cut off one of Tsurume's tentacles. Here, Zoro uses it in a way where he spins in a circle and cuts everybody around him. What's cool about this variation of the technique, though, is that you can actually see black lightning coming out of it. I wonder if this is Zoro practicing and trying to master his advanced Conqueror's Haki. I feel like he would want to, given how Scopper, Gabbana, and Luffy were treating him a while back. They're like, hey, Zoro, your Conqueror's Haki's leaky, man. You're not really controlling it. And then Scopper's like, hey, you're supposed to be the right hand of the Pirate King? You're supposed to help Luffy? What are you doing, man? Yes, this seems like a Zoro thing to do. He would want to practice ASAP. So I'm just going to headcanon Conqueror's Haki here, man. I see one or two streaks of black lightning. I'm gonna call it what it is. So, next things next, we see that Dorry and Brogy take notice of Zoro, they call out Roronoa, and they go in for an attack. Zoro ends up dodging the attack by slapping the air with his swords, and that is when Dorry and Brogy cut each other into pieces. We see that Dorry is severed from the shoulder up, and then Brogy lost his shield and lost his arm. It's nuts. Elder Jarl is shocked. Zoro is shocked. I doubt either one of them wanted to see these guys split into two and die. But thankfully, they're probably not going to die. We saw what was going on with Rocks. He just kept on regenerating. We saw what was happening with Brogy. His arm was regenerating. These guys are probably going to be fine, which does beg the question, but what do we do next chapter? You know, when these guys get back up, how do we solve this? We do have to end up figuring out how to beat Domi-Reversi. It's either we figure out the rules, or we do what Roger and Garp did back at God Valley, where they simply beat Rocks into submission until he just died. Personally, I feel like we still have to find a real way around Domi-Reversi other than just beating their asses. I feel like there's gotta be a solution somehow, some way. And maybe through trial and error here, we'll figure it out. It's either we're going to figure it out, or Zoro's just going to master his advanced Conqueror's Haki and kill everybody, which would be nice, but this is Dorry and Brogy we're talking about, right? We can't just kill them, right? Right? So now we cut back over to Brook, and we see that he has not actually escaped his arrow bindings. Instead, he is worm crawling, caterpillar crawling, all the way over to Gunko. He reaches her, and he yells out for Princess Shuri. Turns out that Gunko isn't actually her real name. Surprise, surprise. It's funny because this was, I wouldn't say obvious, but it was kind of in our faces, right? Because Gunko, if I recall correctly, translates to military child. It seems like a fake name outright. And then, not just that, but Gunko's name was also revised in the final volume, because at first when she was introduced it was just Gunko, but Oda and his team, they went back and they changed it to Manmeyer Gunko. So her name was always a little bit weird, like something was going on there. It's either they just forgot about that or that was like a last minute revision. We weren't exactly too sure. But here we go, we see that her real name is actually Princess Shuri. But Brook says that there's no way that could be her. They've got to be related because the Princess Shuri that he knew would be 80 years old by this point. And the girl in front of him is definitely not 80. Which goes back to Gunko being very special, right? Gunko has gotten very special privileges amongst the God Knights. First up, she is the only God Knight we have seen thus far in the Flower Room. We haven't seen anybody else there. And not just that, but she's the only one that hasn't aged. Dude, look at Garland, look at Sommers. They have gotten old. Gunko is essentially still in her prime. She has not aged ever since God Valley. Something is up with her. And now I'm just wondering, but is Gunko a recipient of the Eternal Youth surgery, or is this simply emu magic at play? Honestly, I would kind of lean more towards Eternal Youth, Because when it comes to Emu's immortality, we've seen that on the Gorosei. And let me tell you guys, but they're not exactly young. We've seen it on Garling and Sommers, and they're not exactly young. If Emu had the power to just hand out youthfulness, I think they would do that for most of their people. But here we go. Gunko is the one and only exception. So I do lean towards eternal youth, but maybe it is just like special Emu magic that he could only use on one person, and he chose Gunko for some reason. You know, the thing with Emu is that we just have to accept that they're a little bit of a gooner, right? Like, we can all accept that, man. Emu has a thing for Princess Lily in the past, blue-haired chick. He kind of has a thing for Vivi, another blue-haired chick who looks identical to Lily. So if Emu wanted to keep another blue-haired girl, another blue-haired princess, young and pristine, yeah, a little bit of a gooner. Can't blame him, though. So we see that because Brook calls out Princess Shuri's name, she comes back a little bit. She starts fighting back against Emu. Emu cuts right back in, though, saying, wait, Gunko, don't tell me you're remembering everything. Cut that out. And during all this, Brook is just rambling. He says, yeah, this has to be you. Those features, the blue hair, the mismatched eyes, and the connection to the Holy Land. And not to mention, but I bet you also like my music. Every single detail is a perfect match. Princess Shuri. I had hoped to go the rest of my life without ever thinking about you again. I owed everything to the man whose life you took, my patricidal princess. Dude, that is crazy. It's funny. Coming into all of this, we all expected Brook to like Gunko. You know, maybe they had a good backstory together, and I still think they did. But it looks like it ended on a very wrong note. And the reason I say wrong is because I don't think that Gunko actually killed her father. Or at least, it's not as straightforward as that. This is another Loki situation, which is crazy. Dude, 2 in 1 arc. Think about that for a second. The parallels between Gunko and Loki, they kind of run deep. You know, when it comes to this, they're both royalty. They're both born with crazy eyes, and they're both being blamed for the death of their parent, who was the king. How many times can Oda do this? Maybe it's on purpose. You know, maybe this is like a, flipping of the coin kind of thing. But yeah, I thought that was hilarious, brother. And then just really diving deep into it, Emu, if they had a role to play in Gunko's dad's death, this is the 4th dad they've killed. Think about that. They killed King Harold, they killed Roxy Zebek, they killed Gunko's dad, and they killed King Cobra. Brother, if you're a father in One Piece, you're now on the hit list. At first, the meme was about mothers. If you're a mother in One Piece, you do not survive. But now, that joke extends to the dads of One Piece. Who's next, guys? Who's next? So the reason why I say there's more to the story than meets the eye off rip, despite us not knowing much about Gunko's past, is because of that brief snippet. When Gunko was remembering things, we saw a distinctive panel of Gunko, I'm assuming Gunko, crying out father, tears in her eyes and everything. If she really did kill her dad, I don't think she'd be crying out father in that little snippet. So I do think there's more to it here, and even looking at the whole segment where she comes back and she's yelling, hey, Brook, you gotta go, you gotta run, and she releases the Straw Hats from their bondage, it's like, yeah, I don't think Gunko's a bad person. I really think Emu had a part to play in it. Maybe Emu possessed Gunko and made her kill him. Maybe Emu was there and did it. Maybe it was the Celestial Dragons who executed her father. I do not think Brook has the full story here. So now, one thing I do want to bring up is the mismatched eye color. Apparently, she always had different eye color. She had heterochromia. And that's fascinating because back when we got that brief snippet of Gunko's flashback when she was remembering Brook, they zoomed into her eye when she was remembering, and then her other eye exploded when Emu took over. So because of that sequence, I just kind of came under the assumption that one of her eyes is fake. One of the eyes was given to her by Emu. Turns out that's not the case. She just always had different eyes. And I'm just kind of wondering if those eyes hold any powers to them. Is there any real significance to it, or is it just a fun, quirky One Piece trait? Another thing that gets brought into question now that we have this reveal is, what is her connection to the Man-Meyer family? Is her full name Man-Meyer Shuri, or is it something else Shuri, and she was simply adopted by the Man-Meyer family? Not too sure yet. One thing about the Man-Meyers that could say that Gunko has always been a part of that family, though, would be, again, the eyes. So back at God Valley, we had something really interesting. We got a lot of God Knights there, and one of them, of course, was a Man-Meyer girl. But for the Man-Meyer girl, she was shown on a multitude of occasions, but Oda, every single time she was in a panel, Oda hid her eyes. Why is that? Why did Oda consistently hide the eyes of that Man-Meyer girl? Maybe it's because she shares the same eyes as Gunko, and that's like a family thing, like all the Man-Meyers have crazy eyes. Or perhaps the Man-Meyers are eye collectors, and when they saw Princess Shuri out in the wild with her heterochromia eyes, they said, hey, let's adopt her and kill her dad. Not too sure, right? I feel like there are a plethora of ways Oda could go with this. So now, Brook. It's hilarious, because 1 minute, Brook is absolutely livid with Gunko. I don't want to see you. I hate you. You killed your father. That was my guy. And then the next minute, after Gunko releases him from the arrows and says, run, Brook, run, he's like, hold up. What's going on here? Why did you tell me to run? I came here to kill you. Who the hell are you, man? And yes, hopefully Brook learns the truth soon. And I think he can. You know, when it comes to Gunko, she is fighting back a decent amount, and this is just Brook calling out her name. Dude, imagine if Brook starts playing music, a song from the past. Imagine if Luffy or Loki came by and tried to liberate her. Yes, I think Gunko might be freed by the end of this arc, and I'm looking forward to it. You know, when it comes to Brook and his backstories, I do still think that Yorkie and Laboon is a top tier backstory. So, extending that, giving Brook a backstory 2.0, you know, learning about his origins, the kingdom he grew up in the West Blue, I'm down for it. And the best part about Brook's backstory, or at least one aspect I always loved about it, is that he's so old that he should know a lot. I mean, hell, even when he talked about Gold Roger, he was like, yeah, you know, there was a rookie by that name a while back. Yeah, I remember that. And then even with Big Mom, he's like, oh, Big Mom, you mean this little girl? It's like, okay. Brook is flexing his age, so I would just simply love to see what life was like for him all those years ago. Who did he know? Who did he grow up with? Did he have any kids? I'd love to see it, brother. So now that Imu has taken back control over Gunko, the first thing Imu does is blitz the hell out of Brook. Imu zooms in, hits him with the knee, and we see the black lightning scatter. And it's so funny, because now people are saying, oh my god, look at how strong Brook is. And I can't even deny it, Brook looks really good here. And it's shocking because Brook has no hockey. Imu is coming in with all the sauce and Brook is blocking it, dude. Brook doesn't even use a shield. This shield is a part of his Elbaph attire. It's not even special. Wow. Obviously, I'm not trying to like power scale this too deeply, but I'm looking at that panel. I'm like, dang, dude, Brook is looking pretty solid. Granted, I do think if this fight were to continue, Brook wouldn't win because this is Imu Gunko we're talking about. Unless Gunko is inside right now, just fighting back and just, you know, restraining themselves like Kurama and Naruto, I just can't see Brook pulling out the W. But thankfully, it's not just Brook here. Because Gunko has released the arrow bondage around the Straw Hats, everyone is back in action. We got Nami, we got Jinbei, we got Usopp all right around the corner. And I do think that they're gonna run it back on her? Yeah, because Gunko beat them the first time, so maybe they'll do better the second time? I don't know. This is Imu Gunko we're talking about, but hey, people are looking forward to a really nice Usopp moment, so maybe he shows out here? I don't know. It's really tough because I could see these Straw Hats going just about anywhere. The library's on fire, kids are being kidnapped, demons are running amok, Brook is fighting Gunko. Where do you go? You know, how do you decide who goes where? And another character that is coming is Sanji. Sanji is coming right around the corner. He yells out Nami Swan. We don't see him, but Sanji is here as well. Sanji, I feel like he's more easier to deduce where he's going to go because we all know he's not going to fight Gunko. Because Gunko is a woman, because Gunko is a girl, Sanji's not going there. For the betterment of the story, Sanji, please do not fight Imu right now. So, yeah. Very tough stuff. For Sanji, I would simply say that he's going to go fight St. Sommers. I feel like when it comes to St. Sommers versus Sanji, that is the matchup that I think a lot of people just already have in the books. And plus, since Robin is still bound because she has St. Sommers' thorns on her, I could see him stopping by saying, wait, why isn't Robin free? Oh, the thorn guy? I'm going there right away. I know this is going to sound like a meme, but I could genuinely see Jinbei putting out the fires at the library of the school. And if he does that, man, that's sad. You know, he already put out the fires on Branch 8. So if he does it again, it's like, man, can nobody else do this? Is this really Jinbei's role from here on out? He's just the dedicated firefighter. He can't do anything else, guys. That'd be hilarious, though. I would live for that moment. Just for the jokes, just for the jokes. As far as Usopp goes, I think he'd want to go over to Dorry and Brogy. I would love to see Usopp strategize over there. Because right now, Zoro and Yarl, again, they're fighting an endless battle. Until they beat Domiroversi or figure out the mechanisms around Domiroversi, they're just trapped in limbo. So maybe Usopp goes over there, he meets his heroes, he tries to save them. Because we have to remember, when they first got Domiroversi, Usopp was crying out to them. He was moved by Elder Yarl's speech. So I think Usopp on that battlefront would be awesome. Let me see here. The only character I didn't talk about is Nami. Ooh, Nami. Ooh, do we send Nami to Brook? I don't know. I feel like Nami cares about the kids a lot. So maybe she should just go with Sanji. Yeah, okay. In this chapter too, Robin does say, forget about me, Nami. Focus on the kids. So Nami could do that. But if Sanji's here, Sanji would simply go over there really quickly. And since St. Sommers is with the kids, that'd be like 2 birds, 1 stone. Maybe they go together. Yeah, I think going together would be nice. Yeah, I'd say they go together. Another character, funny enough, that Oda brings in here via dialogue is Ange. Yeah. Jinbei says, I saw Ange slip away earlier, but I doubt she'll make it in time. The village is very far away. Is Ange also going to save the kids? Where's Ange going? I don't know. I still don't trust Ange. Maybe it's because I made an Ange is evil theory about a year ago. But I don't know. She's just very sus in my opinion. You know, when it comes to everybody fighting St. Sommers, I get it. You know, we got Ripley over there. We got Oim over there. We got a bunch of parents over there. Now we have Goldberg, Garrett, and Rhoda over there. Sanji's about to go over there. I think Scopper and Chopper are going over there. Brother, so many people are going over to the kids. Are we really going to send Ange there too? You know what I mean? Like, will Ange move the needle? She would if she was evil. All I gotta say. I'm pushing my agenda, guys. You can't blame a brother. So one really funny detail that happens in between all of this is Usopp. Because they don't know that Gunko released them willingly, Usopp said, yay, my powers worked, my mind powers, they did the trick. And then in the next panel, we see Usopp over here just shooting his mind powers out into the sky. And I don't know what's up with that. You know, Usopp is such a funny character, and it feels like cope. It feels like, you know, delirium at this point. But whenever Usopp says something really goofy, there is like a small part of me that's like, wait a minute, is this a joke? Or is this foreshadowing for something later? I'm sure you guys know this. I don't have to explain it at this point, but there is like a running thing where Usopp's gags sometimes become true. Not all the times, but sometimes. So yes, when he says, my mind powers did it, and he's over here shooting, you know, mind beams, it's like, I don't know. Is this like a hockey foreshadowing thing? Is this like a weird power-up that we don't know about yet? I don't know, brother. But I just wanted to point it out. Even if it isn't anything, like I said, it's still pretty damn funny. So now we go down to the last segment of the chapter. We got St. Sommers leading the kids over to the ship, and he's about to make it. They have pretty much just arrived at the port. The ship is in sight. Sommers is laughing. He's like, you must be Scapragabans, kid, huh? Well, let me tell you, you guys are about to get kidnapped. Say goodbye to your homeland. This is the last time you'll ever see Elbaph. All the kids are crying out, but that is when the parents have arrived. Oimo, Ripley, and all of them have made it, but there's someone standing in their way. It's the evil Nika. The evil Nika's over here laughing. The parents say they're not going to back down. They slice Nika to and fro, but Nika tanks the blow. And this is when Goldberg, Gerd, and Roto show up and show out with a thruple sovereignty attack from afar. It destroys the evil Nika. It falls on St. Sommers. Sommers, to avoid the damage, knocks Nika away, but he knocked Nika into the escape ship. And we end the chapter with St. Sommers saying, "Oh shit." Sommers is the gift that keeps on giving. You know, when it comes to the God Knight agenda, it's like, okay, he is dragging it down heavily. Yeah, the other God Knights aren't looking good either, but Sommers has consistently flubbed time and time again. And it's at the point now where I'm not even disappointed in him. I just think it's funny. Like, how can he mess up more? You know, what is next, Sommers? What's next? So it's hilarious, man. But people are actually wondering if this mistake is so bad and he's performed so poorly that Emu might just have to get rid of him later. Like, he's going to pull a Saint Saturn like, hey, Sommers, I realize that you've just lost like 3 or 4 times. You've really been a detriment to us. Maybe I should just, you know, take your God Knight powers, double it, and pass it on to the next guy. I don't think he's going to do that. You know, if I was a betting man, I'd say that Sommers is going to be fine. He's probably going to get a slap on the wrist from Emu. I know that sounds crazy, but the God Knights right now, the position they're in, the position the world government is in, I do not think they're able to just easily get rid of people and just replace them. Unless there's just a bunch of God Steel waiting to get promoted, I can't see us saying goodbye to St. Sommers. And at this point, because of how funny he is, I don't want to say goodbye to St. Sommers, man. You know what? Bring him onto the crew, boys. We need this energy. So, yeah. I have no clue what the God Knights are going to do now. This was their main plan. Their plan was to take the kids to the Holy Land to hold them hostage. The ship is gone. What now? Are they going to make a new ship? Can you imagine a Killingham ship and just put it in water? Will it survive even? How long does it last? Are there more than just one ship at the port? Surely, right? This is Elbaph. There's got to be more than just one pirate ship here. I think. One idea I saw people tossing around was that maybe they take the Straw Hat ship. And while I think that'd be fun, I just don't think that the kids would fit on the ship. The kids are giants, man. There's 10 of them. No way. I don't know. Gunko could make a ship out of arrows, but, you know, it goes back to the whole thing. Like, the minute Devil Fruit powers hit water, will it get nullified? Will it just disappear? Will it work? We don't really know. You know, because there have been cases where Devil Fruit powers do work when touching water, and then other times it's like, oh, it's submerged, it's touching, you got splashed with a bucket of water, you're done. So that's always been really finicky. So I just have no clue. I do not know what they're gonna do. I guess one thing that would work in their favor is just if there was another ship. I think that is just the best possible scenario. But in that panel, we don't see any other ships in the background. So I think St. Sommers just cooked the entire operation. Do they just leave now? That'd be so crazy. The ship gets blown up and they leave. Okay, if they leave right away, yeah, I think they kill St. Sommers. You know, but if there's another route they could take, if there's another option, he's fine. I think that's my stance. If this truly did destroy the entire operation, St. Sommers is done. If there's hope, he's fine. If there's hope, he's fine. Last 2 things I want to talk about now, but Luffy and Loki. Where are they? Dude, I just don't get it. so much has happened. Like go through this chapter, go through last chapter. So much time has passed. And we don't see Luffy or Loki. Dude, Zoro is over here running the gauntlet with the giants. And we don't have Luffy or Loki. Something has to be stalling them. So in my mind right now, there's 4 real possibilities. The first one is that Luffy and Loki are fighting each other. I don't know why they would be, but we did see that Luffy said he wanted to see Loki fight. So maybe after the Niflheim showcase, Luffy said, hey, you want to spar real quick? My guys up there can just handle the Sun Realm. That could be it. But then again, because so much is happening up in the Sun Realm, I just feel like they'd put their differences aside for a minute. Maybe they'll say, hey, let's fight after this is all done. So yeah, the spar route I think is good, but there's just small problems I have with that personally. Another route, and I like this one the most, but I like to imagine that maybe somebody else came to Elbaph, like another pirate group or another faction entirely. They showed up to Elbaph and Luffy and Loki are dealing with them. Like maybe we go down and holy crap, it's the Cross Guild. You know, we go down and holy crap, it's red-haired Shanks. Just something like that. Or maybe even the Blackbeard Pirates. I would just love it if another group, another wild card came to Elbaph. And hey, if they bring a ship, maybe that's what St. Sommers takes later. You know, maybe that's option number 2. So now, the third route is that maybe this has to do with Louis Arnaud's warning of not lingering in Elbaph for too long. Maybe we're finally going to see the repercussions of that. Granted, I still think they were talking about time dilation, but if I'm wrong, maybe that time constraint thing is coming in here. I don't know what it would be. It's just an idea I wanted to bring up. And now for the fourth one, I saw somebody else bring this up and I thought it was hilarious, but they said maybe Luffy and Loki, because they said they were going to jump dash fly to the Sun Realm, maybe they overshot where they were going to land and they ended up in the Heaven Realm and they're stuck up there, or something's going down in the Heaven Realm and they can't come down. I think that'd be nice. You know, we still have to see what's up in the Heaven Realm, so I think that is a pretty fine idea. And just thinking about One Piece in general, but Luffy typically doesn't fight the ultimate villain of an island until the end, right? We got to give all the other Straw Hats a chance to shine. If Luffy and Loki arrived to the Sun Realm early, what would they do? They'd immediately be fighting Gunko-Emu, and then Brook would never have this moment. So I do agree with stalling Luffy and Loki. No matter how it's done, I do think that they need to get stalled to a certain extent. So another character that is completely MIA would be Frankie, Lilith, and Bonnie. Primarily Frankie I want to bring up, because last we saw he was with Ripley. He was like, hey, let's go save the kids. I'm with you, Ripley. And then here we see Ripley and we don't see Frankie at all. You know, Ripley's over here fighting Dark Nika and Frankie's just nowhere to be seen. So maybe he'll pop up next chapter and he's actually there with the kids already. Maybe he's behind St. Sommers, which would be hilarious. Like, oh, like St. Sommers is saying, oh shit, and behind him is Frankie just T-posing or something. Yeah, Frankie's such an interesting one. Don't know where he's going to show up. And now, of course, the last 2 characters I mentioned were Lilith and Bonnie. And I would love to see them go to the Western Village to help Zoro and Yarl. We talked about it last week, but Yarl was hyped up as the strongest person 300 years ago. Bonnie could de-age him into his prime. And then as far as Lilith goes, she's a genius. You know, we cannot undersell how smart these Vegapunks are. I would like to imagine that if Usopp doesn't solve the Domi Reversi problem, maybe Lilith can. Maybe Lilith, with her Vegapunk mind, sees this situation and says, oh guys, I figured it out. I know exactly what we should do. And then they do it. But yeah, I think these missing characters are pivotal. I think there's a reason they're missing, and I cannot wait to see them. But with that being said though, guys, let me know your comments and thoughts down below. Of course, in the next couple of days, we will be coming back and reading through the comment section. So if you want your comment read, make sure to drop it down below, brothers. Until then, you guys take care. Peace out, stay safe, and also, quick chill. But if you have the chance, if you have the time, and if you want to, of course, please feel free to check out my YouTube channel right over here at Psyduck, SYVTUCK. I post gameplay videos there every other couple of days. And then I also have an anime reaction channel right over here called Sommers Reacts, where I react to trendy anime and One Piece. So if that interests you, please check it out. But again, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I'll catch you later. Stay safe, and peace out, brothers.